Hell, everyone's got a theory. The boys down at Murphy's Diesel and Style, they'll tell you he got sideways with a load he shouldn't have been hauling. The old-timers at the TA truck stop say he finally drank himself into a ditch somewhere past Bakersfield. And the internet? Lord, the internet says he's livin' in a yurt in Montana, growin' kale and cryin' into a craft IPA. I'm here to tell you, all of 'em are wrong. And all of 'em are right. But the real story? The one that ain't on no podcast or no GoFundMe? That starts with a P-Pump 5.9 Cummins, a $3 can of flat black spray paint, and a man who forgot that some frames ain't meant to be straightened. My name's not important. Call me the guy who bought the truck. The one nobody else would touch. See, Wrecker Ricky Tolliver back when he had a birth certificate wasn't just some guy with a toe strap. He was the guy. This was before the big corporate rotators, before the insurance adjusters put trackers on every hook. Back when recovery meant your knuckles bled, your winch cable sang, and you looked the devil in the eye at 3 a.m. on a rain-slicked grade. Rick drove a 1997 Dodge Ram 3500. Dually. 12-valve. 5-speed. No ABS, no airbags, no sense of self-preservation. He'd repainted the cab 3 times, once for every time he'd rolled it. The bed was a custom flatbed he'd welded himself out of railroad iron and spite. And on the side, in that shaky, aerosol stencil font that only a true artist can pull off, it said. Underneath that, in smaller letters, * Rick's Wrecker Service, cash only. *. For 15 years, that truck was the Grim Reaper of the 395. Rick pulled loggers out of canyons. He righted horse trailers full of panic. He once winched a Kenworth W900 that had kissed a concrete barrier so hard the frame looked like a pretzel. And he did it all with a floor jack, a chain, and a sixth sense for where the weak point was gonna snap. He was a poet of tension. A savant of the snatch block. And then, one October night, he got a call that wasn't on the radio. That didn't come through dispatch. That came as a whisper on a burner phone. What did I notice first? The truck. I bought it at a lien sale 3 months after Rick vanished. $1,200. Covered in dust, parked behind a body shop in Lone Pine. The tires were dry rotted, but the engine, man, that 12-valve fired on the second compression stroke. Like the heart was still in it, even if the soul had checked out. Here's what I found in the glove box. A soggy prayer card from Street Christopher. Half a tin of Grizzly Wintergreen. A folded napkin from a diner called Janie's that closed in 2005. And a Polaroid. Crinkled. Faded. Showed a woman, maybe 40, holding a little girl with a missing front tooth. On the back, in Rick's blocky handwriting, * Molly. 8 years, born 3 pounds. My whole world. *. Now, nobody at Murphy's ever heard Rick mention a daughter. They knew he was divorced. They knew he slept in the truck more nights than not. But a kid? The guys would say, nah. Rick was wedded to the winch. But here's the first hint. The one that makes the hair stand up on your neck. 2 weeks before Rick disappeared, he showed up at the yard with a new decal on the passenger door. Small. Tasteful. Below the cash only. It said, family first. We all laughed. Thought he was being ironic. Rick didn't do sentiment. Rick did torque specs and burnout scars. He wasn't being ironic. The night it happened, October 17th, starts like any other recovery. A semi jackknifed on the 14, just past the Red Rock Canyon turnoff. CHP calls Rick. Rick doesn't answer. So they call Tommy at Murphy's. Tommy says, Rick's truck is gone. So is his chain. And his 30-foot snatch strap. Now, here's where you gotta understand the rhythm of a wrecker's life. You don't just leave the yard without telling dispatch. It's an unwritten law. You especially don't take the heavy-duty chain, the one rated for 50,000 pounds, unless you're pulling something that the law ain't supposed to see. Tommy calls Rick's cell. Straight to voicemail. The outgoing message is still the same, *, you bend it? I'll mend it. Leave a number. *, but Tommy notices something. The background noise isn't the yard. It's not the hum of the 395. It's crickets. And a low, rhythmic thump thump thump. Like a heartbeat. Or a fuel pump. Or a child's swing set, moving in the wind. 3 hours later, CHP finds Rick's truck. Abandoned. Engine idling. Winch cable paid out all the way 150 feet, disappearing over the edge of a cliff. They shine the spotlights down. The cable ends in a clean, tension-cut break. Like it was sliced. Not snapped. Sliced. No trailer. No overturned rig. No oil spill. Just a flatbed truck, a running diesel, and a driver's door standing open. And on the seat? A single little girl's tennis shoe. Pink. Velcro strap. Size 11. Here's the part nobody tells you about Wrecker Rick. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't a villain. He was a man who spent 10 years paying child support late, missing birthdays, showing up to Molly's school plays in a diesel-stained hoodie with grease under his nails. His ex-wife, Diane, she moved to Reno. Got remarried to a dentist. Sent Rick pictures of Molly every Christmas. He never responded. He just pinned them to the sun visor of the truck. But 3 years ago, Diane called. Not about money. About custody. Her new husband, the dentist, he got flagged. Something ugly. Something involving a summer camp that wasn't a summer camp. Protective services got involved. And Molly, at 8 years old, had to testify. On Zoom. With a stuffed rabbit in her lap. Rick found out because Molly called him herself. First time in 4 years. * Daddy? Can you come get me? He has a room in the basement. I don't want to go down there no more. *. That sound you heard? That's the frame cracking. That's the moment a man realizes that all the torque in the world can't unbury the past. Rick didn't call a lawyer. Didn't call CPS. He called the one person he trusted, a bail bondsman named Sal who owed him a favor. Sal got Rick a burner phone. Sal got him a location. And Sal, God help him, told Rick where the stepfather was gonna be that night, driving a rented U-Haul down the 14, supposedly moving family belongings to a storage unit in Bakersfield. Inside that U-Haul, according to the manifest that never existed, a mattress with stains, a laptop, and a little girl's backpack. No Molly. Not yet. But the stepfather wasn't moving things. He was moving evidence. Rick didn't hook the U-Haul by the axle. He hooked it by the frame, the weak point, the part designed to fail in a crash. He took up the slack. Applied 22,000 pounds of tension. And then he waited. The stepfather got out. Walked toward the cab of the Ram. And Rick, the man who had straightened 100-foot trailers, who had pulled loggers out of hell, he did nothing. He just watched the frame of that U-Haul start to groan. Start to bow. Start to tear. And then he let off the brake. Just a little. Here's the truth. The U-Haul didn't go over the cliff. Not then. Rick pulled it sideways across the highway. Blocked both lanes. Got out. Walked up to the stepfather with a 36-inch pry bar in his right hand. And he said, I know this because the dash cam on the Ram was recording audio for 17 more minutes before the battery died, he said. The stepfather talked. They always talk when they see a man who hasn't slept in 3 days and has a log chain draped over his shoulder. Molly was safe. With a neighbor. The stepfather had panicked, left her there, tried to ditch the evidence alone. Rick didn't hit him. Didn't even raise his voice. He just put the pry bar down, walked back to the winch remote, and spooled out the last 50 feet of cable. Then he wrapped it around the stepfather's ankle. Not tight. Just there. And he hooked the other end to the front axle of the U-Haul. You told her there was a room in the basement, Rick said. So I'm gonna show you what it feels like to be buried. He walked back to the Ram. Put it in fourth gear. Low range. And he dragged that U-Haul and the man attached to it exactly 43 feet. Not to the cliff edge. To the soft shoulder. The one where the asphalt ends and a 40-foot drop into a dry wash begins. He left the stepfather there. Ankle cuffed to the axle by a steel cable. No phone. No water. Just the sound of the Ram's diesel fading into the desert. Then Rick drove to the neighbor's house. Picked up Molly at 2:17 a.m. Drove 700 miles north. Crossed into Oregon, then Idaho. And he kept driving until the truck ran out of fuel in a little town called Jordan Valley. He's alive. Last I heard, he's running a 2-bay garage outside of Missoula. No decals. No cash only. Just a sign that says Murphy Diesel, NO style. Molly is 11 now. She's got a rabbit named Torque. She's learning to weld. The stepfather? He walked out of the wash after 14 hours. Called the cops. Told them everything. And then he confessed on tape in an interview room to things that put him away for 25 years. Rick was never charged. Because there's no law against pulling a trailer off the road. And there's no security camera in the world that records the look in a father's eyes when he decides that some frames weren't meant to be straightened. I'm the guy who bought the truck. I stripped the winch. Repainted the cab. Kept the family first decal on the passenger door. And when I'm out on a call at 3 a.m., when the cable starts to sing and the diesel is idling perfect, I swear I can still hear Rick's voice on the wind. You bend it. I'll mend it. But not this time. This time, he just let it bend. If this hit you where the grease don't wipe off, share it with someone who's pulled a load they shouldn't have had to carry. And for God's sake, call your daughter.